Apple is being sued for their failures when it comes to Apple Intelligence. So some crazy people finally did it. Not considering they're crazy, but just an expression. So I want to talk about this because I've kind of expected this to come for a while. I've talked about this because when it comes to the iPhone 16, Apple Intelligence was basically the core reason to upgrade for this phone. It is basically the entire reason. I mean, really, because otherwise, there's no reason to upgrade whatsoever. Apple touted this phone as being the first ever built from the ground up for Apple Intelligence. They showed off all these commercials with features that still may not even be available this year, which would be a fundamentally terrible thing because if you buy this phone based off of what they're advertising it to be able to do, and then it can't even do that until maybe a year later after the phone comes out, then yeah, there could be some pretty mad people. And I've been pretty upset about some of these things, but somebody went ahead and sued them over in California District Court in San Jose. And I figured, hey, uh, I've been interested in this topic since it came out. Plus, some of you may or may not know, I'm actually an attorney. So maybe I can offer some insight onto this. So, is Apple going to be found guilty? That's not something that I can say yay or nay on. That's something that's going to have to be determined by the facts, court of law, all those different things. But what I can tell you is basically what's being done here is they're being sued for false advertisement. Now, false advertisement, of course, is actionable. It's something that you can sue on. And when it comes to the iPhone 16, basically, my thought process is here is that the material reason behind all this is that Apple has failed to deliver the feature that they advertise for this phone. The whole reason for upgrading, I mean, is basically they hit the ground running. Apple Intelligence, Apple Intelligence. I mean, they made this such an important part of the phone, the product itself, that I mean, the buying decision almost could be, it's hard to separate out. But here's what they said. So this is what happened. So it got suit was filed Wednesday in U.S. District Court San Jose. They're trying to get class action status. So class action, that's what everybody thinks of whenever it comes to this stuff because a lot of people have been harmed by this. So they've got to establish the class and then they can proceed with the lawsuit that way. But un, the damages that they're seeking have not been that's unspecified at this time, and it's on behalf of those who purchased Apple Intelligence capable iPhones and other devices. And there's other devices that do Apple Intelligence, of course. Anything that basically has an M1 or newer. We talk about the iPad Pros, iPad Airs, MacBooks, all those things. There's been a lot of stuff. Apple Intelligence is supposed to be the foundation of some of these products, right? I mean, they said it very much in their keynote, built from the ground up, first product ever for Apple Intelligence. And then all these things they said are going to happen. You saw the commercials. I had one in a video recently talking about it. The girl from The Last of Us, and she was showing off some of the features, some of the stuff that they make it seem like you can do with Apple Intelligence. And I've been talking about this for a long time. Like, imagine seeing that commercial. Imagine all the celebration and the hoopla and watching all these favorite YouTubers that are just praising Apple and Apple Intelligence when the product first comes out. And then you get home and then it's like, all right, how do I use this Apple Intelligence stuff? Oh, wait, it's not there. Now, in Apple's defense, they did say a lot of stuff is coming soon, coming later, not immediately available. The problem is you can say one thing, but when you say one thing and then you make it seem like another, yes, in the fine print at some point in time during the commercial, or they might have a little snippet here and there. It's like, okay, you've got a big advertising billboard and then like small lettering underneath. Like, which one of those is controlling? And just for everyone's personal edification and my personal protection here, I'm not offering any legal advice in here. I'm not offering any. I'm not trying to say yay or nay about any of this stuff whenever it comes to the case itself. I don't want to get sued. I'm not interjecting myself on this behalf. I'm just kind of looking at it from a 35,000-foot level with my legal background and expertise, and then also just my thoughts on it in general. So that's why I'm not like, oh yeah, Apple's guilty. Apple's done this. Apple's doing that. Apple's screwed. Like, we don't know. And there's certain things you can have like gimme cases that go to court. Gimme being like it should be a shoe-in, right? It should be something that's a foregone conclusion, and then come out with a different response, different answer. I figured this was probably going to happen because there's so much behind this whole Apple Intelligence issue. And as soon as Apple actually came out and said, hey, Not going to be ready till the next update. Not going to be available maybe even this year. Might be in 2026. Might be on the iPhone 17. As soon as I saw that, I figured it was almost imminent that somebody was going to file a lawsuit against Apple. Whether they would or not, who knows? But I think that there's certainly grounds to do it. I mean, there's grounds to sue for a lot of things. But when it comes to this, I think that it's important because, well, they really did pull the wool. I mean, they pulled the wool over people's eyes, or whatever. I don't know what the expression is. They made it seem like it was going to be available. They made it seem like you had to upgrade to get this, because if you have an older phone, you can't use Apple Intelligence. You're like, hey, you got to get the new iPhone 16 series phone. They even made the iPhone 15 obsolete for this. You have to have the 15 Pro or Pro Max. And this is something I've talked about for years, about them sandbagging. Like, they knew this was coming. This isn't something where it's like, oh, halfway through production on the iPhone 16. You know what, guys? Those older phones aren't going to support this. They knew that. And they're using this as a chip to get people to upgrade. So they're using Apple Intelligence as bait. They're dangling on a hook saying, hey, come get Apple Intelligence. Here, it's so amazing. Look at our commercials. Look at our advertisements. Look at these features. Make sure you upgrade. You're not going to be able to get this. But they don't really do much in the way of telling you that it's not available. It's not going to be available for a while. And then it was, what, 5-6 weeks before you even got iOS 18.1 or 18.2 that had 18.1 that had the first set of Apple Intelligence features. And then you had to wait a couple months to get iOS 18.2. And then here we are on the precipice of when the spring, we're supposed to be getting the updated contextually aware Siri, personalized Siri, all that great stuff, all the stuff they advertised in September, all the stuff they advertised back then. And then they go, oh, yeah, this big piece of the puzzle you've been waiting for, this big piece that you've waited for these 6 months since the phone came out, by the way, probably won't be available till the iPhone 17, which basically means this whole upgrade is a waste. The iPhone 16 is the most fruitless waste of a product that I think that Apple has ever made, because you promised this, you promised X, you advertised X, and then you don't deliver X. Not talking about Twitter, the platform formerly known as Twitter, just X is a variable, a widget. You said A is like, you can't use A unless you buy this product. Like, you can't use Apple Intelligence unless you buy the iPhone 16, and then you're going to get all these features. And then you spend all this time and you're like, well, something's going to be available later. But you have to watch the keynote to know that. And then, two, if you watch the advertisements, they made it seem like it was already available. Like, Apple Intelligence, powered by this, made for this, built for this. They didn't use any cautionary language like, oh, by the way, this is going to be something that's going to be available 6 months from now. So go ahead and buy it now. And then everyone buys it, and then it's not there. And then you got to wait 6 weeks for some of it to show up. Then you got to wait a couple months for the other ones to show up. And then the major stuff doesn't even show up. And then they admit it's not ready. It's not ready. It's plain and simple not ready. There's been a lot of problems with this in Cupertino. And I'll read you some of the language from the lawsuit here. So what are they saying? And I'm reading an Axios article. And the nice thing about this is it's free. It's public information. You can go get a hold of this stuff. So what they're saying: Apple's advertisements saturated the internet, television, and other airways to cultivate a clear and reasonable consumer expectation that these transformative features would be available upon the iPhone's release. And I've been saying this. Like I said, it wasn't cautionary. There was no hesitation in it. They used language that implied and made it seem like it was going to be there when you got the phone. They advertised it and marketed it like it was going to be there when you got the phone, and very clearly it was not. And I think that they still had a leg to stand on, because at least in the keynote they said, hey, it's not going to be available till XYZ. But then the problem is when XYZ gets here and then it's not available, and then they have to come back and say, hey, probably not even for this phone cycle. Bam, that's what triggered all this stuff, because then they've admitted it's not ready. They knew it wasn't going to be ready, and they acted like it was ready until they couldn't anymore, and they got caught with the hand in the cookie jar. So their comment in here says, this drove unprecedented excitement in the market, even for Apple, as the company knew it would, and is part of Apple's ongoing effort to convince consumers to upgrade at a premium price and distinguish itself from competitors seem to be winning the AI arms race. And they did that, again, by naming their AI Apple Intelligence. So they owned it. They created AI. They named it Apple Intelligence, and they paraded it around like it was available. They paraded around these features like they were ready to a reasonable person. They're assuming, and they're positing here, saying a reasonable person would expect, based off of what they saw, how this was marketed and advertised, that it would be available when they got the phone. So that's one argument. And then they say, contrary to defendants' claims of advanced AI capabilities, which the capabilities are not advanced at all, they're actually quite terrible. I had an instance yesterday. I tried to use visual intelligence, Apple's visual intelligence. I'm here in Tokyo right now. And one nice thing about visual intelligence, you can take a picture and you can press the button, it'll translate it. So I wanted to translate something. And when I used it, took the picture, went to translate, it froze my whole phone up for over a minute. I thought I was going to have to hard reset it. The screen was unresponsive. The power button was unresponsive. I couldn't do anything for over a minute, and it finally relented. It started working again, and then it just went back to the home screen, and it would work. So this is features that are available now. So two-part process here. One, the features they advertised and pretended would be here are not here, and then two, the features we do have are not working as they're intended to or as advertised. So that's another problem. So go back to reading. The products offered a significant, yeah, I'll read it from the start. Contrary to defendants' claims of advanced AI capabilities, the products offered a significantly limited or entirely absent version of Apple Intelligence, misleading consumers about its actual utility and performance. Worse yet, defendant promoted its products based on these overstated AI capabilities, leading consumers to believe that they were purchasing a device with features that did not exist or were materially misrepresented. And then, of course, an Apple representative was not immediately available for comment. I'm sure they will not comment, especially now that this has gone into the lawsuit. So, yeah, that's basically what's going on here. And it's one of those things. Here's another note. It says the suit notes that Apple recently pulled the ad off YouTube, but says still it has failed to retract all the similarly false representations in the market that began in the summer of 2024, much less take any action that would adequately remedy the consumers harmed by the company's widespread deception. So what they're saying here is they knowingly and willfully created an image that this product could do ABC. And then they insinuated that you had to upgrade to get this because your phone wasn't available. The phone you had couldn't do these features. So you got these cool new features. You have to get this new phone to use these cool new features, and then acting as if the cool new features working existed and were there, and then they're not. They're not being made available. They're not there. And then Apple hasn't done anything to change that perception. They did pull an ad, but see, Apple hasn't come out and done anything to make people think still that these features are not available. They haven't said, "Hey, by the way, we've got all these phones that we're selling you that you have to get. You've seen the advertisements, you saw the keynote, you saw all these YouTubers videos, you saw all these things. You've seen all of these things. Oh yeah, we haven't told you that you can't use any of that stuff." Like the only reason people know is because they get their phone and they find out A, it's not available, or B, through word of mouth, or maybe you watch one of my videos. So not only have they created this, they're basically harming people by making them buy a product they believe is going to have features, and then it doesn't. And then they're not doing anything to change the image that these features are going to be available, continuing to harm people and convincing more people to buy their products, and they haven't done anything to remedy this. They haven't done anything, one, to fix that image, and two, they haven't done anything to remedy or compensate people who have bought these phones and have these, like, that they believe would be able to do XYZ and are not. So I mean, certainly they have a case here. I mean, it's something that they can go ahead and file a lawsuit on. Again, you can file a lawsuit, a lot of things. Again, this is not legal advice. I'm not giving anyone legal advice. I'm not your attorney. This is not creating any sort of legal relationship between me and anybody watching this video. And this is just my personal thoughts on the matter in this lawsuit that's been filed based off of, just my personal opinion and the education that I have. So I'm just looking at it from the outside looking in. So yeah, they have filed a lawsuit. We'll see what happens with this. I'm sure this will not be the last we hear about any of this. Maybe even more lawsuits will be filed, but it's something that I fully anticipated after they came out and said, hey, this is not going to be ready. So that right there is a flag that ran up the flagpole in my mind saying, okay, they've admitted that what they've created is not being able to do its intended purpose. And that's what people bought it for. They bought it based off of the premise that it could do a certain thing, and then it can't do a certain thing, and now it may not even be able to deliver. So I think that the iPhone 16 is a wash of a phone. I mean, if you take a look at it, what did they really upgrade other than the chip that was built from the ground up for Apple Intelligence? Not a whole lot. Same cameras, same everything, right? There's basically no changes, hardly at all, in this phone from a material standpoint as far as what you would consider an upgrade. The upgrade was Apple Intelligence. The purpose of upgrading is for Apple Intelligence. That's how it was marketed. And then Apple Intelligence was created and it was presented as being available and being able to do A, B, C, D, E. It's not capable of doing that. Now they realize and they've admitted it won't be able to do it, even maybe within the first year of this phone before the new phone comes out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, how this progresses, what comes out of it, and where we go next. But thankfully, we have the court system to hold these people accountable for it's predatory behavior. Basically, you look at it, they're taking advantage of people, using their goodwill and their reputation, history for a company that delivers, to get people to buy something that they're not delivering on, and then they're not doing anything to tell people, hey, it's not ready. The whole reason to buy this phone is not ready. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, lawsuit filed, all that great stuff. We can talk about this in the comments and we can go from there. But yeah, that's all I got. I just want to let you guys know somebody did file a lawsuit and we'll see where it goes from here. I don't have a vested interest one way or the other, but just thought it was interesting and I wanted to share it. So if you have any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, complaints, opinions, all that stuff, please go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.